Hello to everybody out there. As you can hear, I'm still having a cold, but my voice is coming back, so I think I'm doing my next lesson. In this lesson, I want to talk about slash chords and what's it all about. Maybe you read this on some music, that you maybe find something like a C and then a slash and then a D. So what does that mean is one thing, and how these chords are constructed and how do you use them in your regular music. That's what it's all about in this lesson. So I think I can cover it in one lesson, so let's see. Maybe this will be a little bit longer. So what's it all about is you're using a triad, and in this case we're using a C triad, and you put a different bass note under the triad. As an example, I'm using a C triad. Here we have C, E, and a G. And instead of putting a C as a bass note, I may be using a B flat, an A, a G, a C sharp, or a D flat. And that's what meant when you read C/D, which means a C triad with D in the bass, or C/E flat. Okay, sounds a little weird, but we can use this chord. I will show you how. The thing is, what I would do is I would write down one bass note, in our case C, and then put all the triads above this bass note chromatically. So you play a C triad with a C in the bass, a C sharp or a D flat triad with the C in the bass, a D triad with the C in the bass, E flat triad, and so on. All the 12s. And then we have to check out how we use the sounds. Well, the first one, a C triad with a C in the bass, there's nothing special, nothing changes big. But when I play now a D flat or C sharp triad with a C in the bass, you get a kind of weird sound. But we can use this chord. Some of the Latin guys play this. Okay, maybe you heard it just before. So instead of saying it's a D flat chord with the major 7 in the bass, because C would be the major 7 of the D flat, we say C is not only the bass note, it's the root, and the notes from the D flat chord are built on the root of C, which means the D flat, which is the root of the D flat chord, would be a flat 9. You know, when C is the bass, D flat is a flat 9. The F, which is the third of the D flat triad, is the 11 of the C. And the A flat, which is the fifth from the D flat triad, would be a flat 13 or minor 6. So you get a weird chord C, flat 9, 11, flat 13. And you may be thinking now, well, what's the use of this? But there is one scale, one of the modes, who has just the same notes in it, and this is the Phrygian scale. So the D flat with the C in the bass is a typical Phrygian chord. Spanish, huh? But that's the sound that Phrygian is known for. So, as I said, we have a chord that's typical for the Phrygian sound. Let's move on. The next one, half step off, would be a D triad with a C in the bass. And again, C is not only the bass note, C is the root. So the D is the 9. The F sharp is the sharp 11, if C is the root. And the A is the 13. So you're getting a chord C, 9, sharp 11, 13. And this is also a chord that you find in the modes, because this is a typical Lydian chord. So would be a typical 4 chord. So if you're in the key of C, like the key of G, sorry, G would be the 1 chord. Nice pop sound, pop fusion sound with this triads and the bass note. And there's a second place where you can put this chord. It's also a Lydian dominant chord. So maybe as an example, if you play tunes like Girl from Ipanema or Desafinado, the 2 chord, this is the key. The tunes are in the key of F. The 2 chord is a G7. Sharp 11, and I can play this in this case A chord with a G in the bass instead of it. So as this chord has no 7 in it, there's no B or B flat. I can use it on both occasions. I can use it as a Lydian chord if it's a major 7 chord, and I can use it on a dominant chord, because the note that sets these 2 chords apart is not in the chord. Okay? So next one would be E flat, triad with the C in the bass. And maybe you know this chord because this is a C minor 7. So nothing big, nothing new here. But we can use this chord. But I'm guessing you know this already. So the next chord is an E major triad with a C in the bass, and this is something fancy. Because now we have the E, which is the major third of the C. The G sharp, the third of the E chord, is the sharp 5 of the C chord. And the B natural from the E chord, the 5th from the E chord, is the major 7 from the C chord. You get a C major 7 sharp 5 chord. Very modern sound. I first learned this chord on a Schofield tune which called The Beatles. Something like this. It's the first chord. Next one, F is the C in the bass. In this case, it's a typical sus chord because the F is the sus from the C, or 11. The A is the 13, and the C, well, it's the root again. You maybe heard this. It's common. And the next one, something fancy again, F sharp or G flat with the C in the bass. This gives you a G flat is a flat 5 or sharp 11. The B flat is a 7, and the C sharp or D is the flat 9. What to do with this chord, you know? There's two possibilities for this chord. One is it's Locrian, the 7th mode of the major scale, because the Locrian mode has a flat 9 and a flat 5, so this would fit. And I also use this as an alternate dominant chord. So this can be a C7 with alterations, with sharp 11 or flat 5, as you want to call it, and a flat 9. It works. It's not my favorite sound, but it works. Next one, G flat. Next one is G. G chord with a C in the bass. Very common sound. So the G triad. The G would be the 5th of the C chord. The B natural would be the major 7 of the C chord, and the D would be the 9 of the C chord. So you have kind of C major 7 9 sound. Okay, and this is a typical 1 chord. I'm using this a lot. Or maybe. Okay. Next one would be A flat with the C in the bass. And what we have here now is the A flat is the -6 or flat 13. The C and the root again, and the E flat is the minor 3rd. So this is some kind of a minor chord. It's a minor chord with a flat 13 or with a minor 6, however you want to call it. And that's a typical Aeolian chord, so the natural minor. Also a common sound. Next one, A triad with a C in the bass. Again, a very fancy sound. But it's also a good one. I'm using this a lot because the A would be, if C is the root, the 13. The C sharp would be the flat 9, so you know that's D flat. And the E would be the major 3rd. So you have a flat 9 13 sound. That's a typical sound from half step, whole step. Which is a 5 chord, an altered 5 chord, flat 9 13. So I'm using now C7 with these alterations and the F chord, which would be the 1 chord. Okay. Next one is a very famous one too. It's B flat triad with the C in the bass. The B flat would be the -7. The D would be the 9, and the F would be the 11. If C is not only the bass, it's the root. And this is the typical sus chord. If you have a 5 sus chord, okay. I also use this chord not only on the 5 chord, so this would be Mixolydian. I'm also using this on Dorian. You can play this with Dorian too. Okay. So as an example, if I'm playing a 5-1 cadence, if I'm playing C7 to F major 7, I play C sus chord, B flat with the C in the bass. Next I'm playing C altered chord, flat 9 13, A with the C in the bass. And then I'm playing F major, a C triad with F in the bass. Last one is a B natural with a C in the bass. And this is a typical slash chord that you can can use for diminished. Okay, typical C diminished sound. So as you can see, a lot of these chords are useful. In my playing, I'm using all 12 types, and to make them transposable, I recommend you one thing. Because everything we did now is on C. We have C as a bass note and C as a root. As an example, if I pick one out, I pick a D chord with C in the bass. I'm calling this a 2/1 chord, which means the D chord is a whole step above the root. 2/1. And this type, when the triad is a whole step above the root, is a substitution chord, as I said, for Lydian or Lydian dominant. So if I'm by playing a Lydian dominant chord or a Lydian chord shows off, I can remember 2/1. As an example, in F, I need an F major 7 sharp 11 chord, an F Lydian chord. I say, well, F has to be the root because it's an F chord, and the triad has to be a whole step above. A whole step above F is G, so I have to play a G triad with the F in the bass. F Lydian chord or Lydian dominant. Other example, I'm playing a cadenza 2/5/1. Haha. And I want to substitute it with slash chords. Well, I leave the 2 chord alone, and even this would be a slash chord because this is flat 3 with 1. 3 with B and 1. Because it's an F triad with a C, with D, sorry, an F triad with a D in the bass, which means the triad is a minor third above the root. The 5 chord, the G7 chord, I can use something altered. I can say I'm using maybe a 6/1 chord. 6/1. Because this gives me the alteration flat 9, 13. So if G is my 1 chord, what's the triad? A 6 above. It's an E triad. G, A, B, C, D, E. E triad with the G in the bass. This is my 5 chord. And my 1 chord is 5/1, which means the triad is a 5th above the root. And this gives me a major 9 chord. If 1 is my root, if C is my 1, my root, 5 steps above is the G triad. C, D, E, F, G. G triad. With C in the bass. C major 7, 9. Okay? Or as an example, let's play a 1/4/5 progression. For the 1 chord, I'm playing, I play it in C, so I play C, F, G, and C. Pretty simple. For the 1 chord, I play C with the C in the bass, or G with C in the bass. For the 4 chord, I play F, or 2/1, a G triad with the F in the bass. And for the 5 chord, I have many options. I play G with the G in the bass, or F with the G in the bass, which gives me sus 7/9, 7/9/11 if you want to call it, or 6 with 1 in the bass. As we had before, this is an E triad with the G in the bass. It gives me some alteration, so I'm giving the chord more attention. Let's see how this sounds. before. So maybe now you know how you can create them on your own. And all it takes is a little bit of harmony study. It's not that big of a theoretic concept you need for this. Well, I think that covers my first chapter on slash chords, because there is something more you can do with them. And again, I'm going to do a second lesson on this, but I think a little later, maybe in a couple of weeks or even a month, because you should digest this first and use this in your playing. And when you're really comfortable with this and you have it all in your fingers, then the next lesson is maybe appropriate. So I hope this helps give you some idea of slash chords. And if you enjoy my lesson, give me a thumb up, write something in the comments, subscribe to my channel, all the things you can do for me. And hope to see you next time. Enjoy, bye-bye.